Hi, this video is on advice for going to court. So, if you're going to court, there's certain things I would recommend. First off, I would recommend that if you're going to go to court, the most important thing I could think of for you is be nice. Be very, very nice. Because the police officer and the judge hold all the power and all the authority, and if you're rude or mean to them, they're just going to make your life miserable. So if I could give you one piece of advice, the most important piece would be very, very, very nice. Be very nice. So that's probably the most important thing. Also, one thing I think that's very important when you go is talk to the police officer before the trial. Oh, excuse me. Sometimes they'll cut you a deal. So it doesn't hurt to talk to them and just be really nice and polite and see if they're willing to help you out or to work with you on something. You could always tell them and ask them. And the worst thing they could do is tell you no. So it's always a good idea, I think, to talk to a police officer before trial. Another good thing is just dress nicely. You don't want to go in there dressed as a slob because, the police officer and the judge will be there dressed professionally, so you should dress professionally as well. You don't have to go in there in a suit and a tux or something like that, but, just business attire's fine, business casual, just like a slacks or like a collared shirt, that'd be good. Another thing I noticed is that as of today, a lot of the judges in California, what they're doing is they are cutting you a deal. So if you plead guilty, excuse me, if you plead guilty early, they'll reduce your fine. So for me, what the judge said was, actually, he told everybody. He said, okay, so normally if I would give you a sentence of, let's say, 10 years, instead of giving you 10 years, I'll just give you 5 years. That's if you just, walk right up and plead guilty right away. And then he'll give everybody an opportunity to walk up and say, or he'll say, everybody that wants to plead guilty, just walk up and then just sit right here so he knows who's going to plead guilty. Then you walk up there and then he gets your name, he reads what you did, and then, and he asks you how you plead, and then you plead, and then he'll give you your sentence, and it'll usually be half. Let's see. Oh, another important thing is that a police officer can remove counts. So if you're really nice to them and, they could remove counts against you. So that's why I advise that you go before your trial actually starts and talk to them. You don't have to go and visit them like 2 or 3 weeks ahead. You can, but for me, I went in there, my appointment was at 3, and then I just talked to him at 2 o'clock. I found him and I said, hey, and I just had to ask him a couple questions, and, he told me what the counts were, and after explaining what happened to him, he said, well, if you want to plead guilty, I'll tell you what, I'll go ahead and I'll remove this count. So, I was speeding and I ran a red light, so he was actually really nice, and he said, well, I'll just, if you want, I can remove this one. I'll remove the running the red light, and you can just plead guilty to the speeding, and, that'll be a much reduced penalty. And it was, so, I went for it, and he was really cool about it, so... yeah, so it doesn't. I don't think it hurts to talk to them beforehand, but you got to be careful what you say. You don't want to aggravate them or annoy them, because that's definitely not going to work out for you. Let's see. Oh, yeah, this is another funny thing I noticed when I went to court. So when I went there, somebody was going there because they were speeding, and so they pleaded innocent. Which, okay, you can plead innocent, and sometimes it's a good idea. But for this person, the judge asked them to tell their story, and the first thing that came out of that person's mouth was, I was speeding. So if you're going to plead innocent to speeding, you don't want to tell the judge, hey, I was speeding, because automatically you've just admitted your guilt. And from that sentence, it really doesn't matter too much more what else you say afterwards. At that point, the judge already decided that you already said guilty. At this point, he's just deciding how bad the fine is he's going to levy against you. So if you're talking on your cell phone in your vehicle, don't tell well, I wouldn't recommend you tell them, yeah, I was talking on my cell phone, because, well, then you just admitted that you're guilty. There was one guy there who was talking on his cell phone, and he was talking to his mother about something. I'm not quite sure what. But, yeah, he was talking to his mom, and the judge asked him, were you talking on your phone? He said, yeah, well, I was talking to my mom, but my cell phone was on speakerphone. And he said he was stopped. He wasn't moving, but that doesn't matter. You were talking on your cell phone when you were in your vehicle, and he was stopped at a stop sign. But I mean, it was still didn't matter. He was still guilty. So if you're gonna plead innocent to something, don't tell them that you're guilty right after you plead innocent, because you're gonna be found guilty right away. Another tactic I've heard about is delaying your court appearance, and in the hope that the police officer will get transferred out. This could work. Actually, it did happen. When I went there, one of the cases, a police officer had been transferred out, and so the case was automatically dismissed. So if you go there and the police officer is not there, the judge will just say dismissed. What happens is first the judge will call out your name, and then he'll ask if you're there. And you'll say present or I'm here. And then he'll either ask you if you're there, or he'll immediately go and say the police officer is not present, and he'll know. And then he'll just say case dismissed. They usually won't go on at that point unless you've antagonized them or made them really upset. Then then you're asking for it. So yeah. Let's see. Yeah, so delaying sometimes works, sometimes it doesn't. I think you could delay it for quite a bit, actually. After a while, though, you do have to go before the judge and then, tell them why you need another delay. So, so if the police officer's not present, automatically the judge will say case dismissed. Sometimes, though, when I did go, one police officer did not go, but he did send somebody in his place, so that didn't work. But actually, I think of all the trials I saw there, I think roughly 30% of the time the police officer was not present. And so quite a few people got off. On my day, it was Halloween, and it was in the afternoon, so perhaps that had something to do with it. Also, one of the police officers was stuck in Atlanta because of, weather conditions, and the plane couldn't bring him back, so perhaps that's why there was so many cases that were dismissed, because that police officer was not present. Oh, and I definitely recommend that if you're going to go to court, you need to be prepared. You need to know what you're going to say before you get there, and you need to know what you're going to do. So you don't want to show up there and just try to wing it. Unless you're a lawyer, I don't really think that's going to work. And even then, lawyers have had many years of experience, and they know what they're doing, so pretty much they're already prepared. So, I would definitely recommend being prepared. Also, if you're going to request documents, you usually have to request them at least 2 weeks in advance. And if you are going to request them, make sure that you get copies and get it through certified mail, so you have proof that you actually did it. Because if you do not have proof, the judge will not care and will continue on. So if you're going to request for any sort of records or any data, like on a LiDAR or a radar gun, you need to ask for it in advance. Otherwise, you will not get it. And I believe it's called discovery. That's the term you can look up, and it's a technical term that they use to look up for information or to ask for stuff from the police officer. So I think one thing that you really, really want to focus on is just be nice. Most of the time, I think the judges are actually pretty nice, and they're pretty fair. And so are the police officers. They're always very professional. Every single police officer I saw that was there, they walked up there. They said, "This is what happened. These are the facts that I know of. This is how I saw the person," and they'll be very concise and direct to the point. And I think some people always wanted to say, "Oh well, if you delay it long enough, the judge will forget, or the police officer will forget." So okay, so I gotta go. So good luck if you go to court. So see you guys later.